Why did that turn off? Turn back on. Oh, my sign just died. Well, that's cool. Hello! Maybe it'll come back on. What is happening? Right on. Well, that's going to stay off, apparently. Hello and welcome to another Let's Draw Nerdy Things here on Level Up Creative. My name is Steve, and tonight, in honor of Hollow Knight Silksong finally releasing on every platform after people have been waiting for 6 years for this game to come out, I figured it would be a nice little tribute to take the main character, Hornet, and reimagine her in a few different art styles. And so I have landed on Paper Mario art style, Cuphead art style, and also Hades art style. So without further ado, let's jump into it. Basically, what I'm going to be doing is going through and using some reference art that I pulled together. I'm going to try to figure out how I can translate this Paper Mario art style into something that looks kind of like a Hornet, but Paper Mario also. And also I am working in this 1080 by 1940 format, or 1920 format, in hopes that, you know, I'll be able to take this art and utilize it for something else like social posts or phone screen backgrounds if it ends up turning out looking pretty cool. For tonight, I am basically just going to be doing the main illustration of Hornet herself, and then after the stream is over, then I'll go through and start playing around with like adding some backgrounds and just fleshing it out a little bit more so that, you know, it could be used for something more substantial. But for now, I want to just jump right in and start seeing what I can do to make a kind of Hornet-looking Paper Mario character. Also, you might notice that the music from the game is playing in the background because someone has already removed it from the game and put it online, so I've got that playing. Alright, so I want to take her head shape and kind of flatten it out a bit. I'm looking to see, yeah, there's some overlap. I wanted to go with this cover art for reference because there's a lot of different characters on here to kind of choose from as far as art style. And what I'm thinking is up here, you can see there's this kind of like overlap from the front of her head to the back of it. And I just wanted to see if there was any of that here, and you can see on Yoshi, his nose does overlap the rest of his face. So we can do that, a little bit of overlap. And right now I am just roughing her in. Everybody else gets these kind of, they're either really big accentuated eyes or very little beady ones. And I'm thinking since she's already got just like these solid black eyes, I'm going to go with the more beady style. I'm just going to make them much smaller. Even keep the same angle that she has. I might move them closer to each other. Make her a little more cutesy. She also has this cape that in some cases, well, I guess in all cases, it seems to kind of come up over her head. So we'll add that little part. And then one thing about all of these Paper Mario characters is they basically all have these little circular bodies. Yoshi's got it. The Goomba girl's got it. This Koopa guy's got it. But since she's just wearing a dress, I think what I'll do is give her this circular body, but still have the kind of like dress folds, the fabric folds coming off. Come off of her little circular body, so she's not as elongated. Another thing is they all have arms, but they generally don't have legs. It's just like their feet kind of free floating around the bottom of their body. So we're just, instead of giving her these long spindly legs, we're just going to give her maybe bigger than what they should be feet. Arms seem to be fully intact for some reason. They have the length of an arm attached from their body to their hand, which is funny because she kind of doesn't. I mean, she does. You can see it here. There's a little bit of black line coming out from her body that's attached to this needle. And you can kind of see it right here. There's a little hand in there. But since I feel like the visual like gimmick of her character is that you don't really see her arm. It's just kind of, you see this cloak, this dress cloak, and then the needle coming out from it. So I think it would be cute to just like leave it as is. And so we will give her maybe like a stubbier looking needle. Make her look a little less intimidating. Make the circle on the end look really big. Maybe even make this needle a little bit bigger. Like so. All right, so I think that's where I'm going to start with her design. One of the things about Paper Mario is you really see these kind of layers of the pieces of their bodies. And so I am going to want to copy that for this. I'm going to get like a medium size pen here. And I think I will start with her body since it looks like the part that is standing out the most. Oops, that's actually pretty big. It's fine. Something like that. Try to even out these outlines since it looks like the outlines in Paper Mario have this very even line weight to them. Like that. Okay, so that's going to be my first layer. And the next one, I will do her head. Let's start here. Something like that. Okay. And then let's bring this reference back up. Her eyes have this almost alien kind of shape to it, and so I think I want to try to replicate that maybe a little bit better. Little beady alien eyes. And then we'll make a new layer for her little feet that are just going to be a solid black. And we'll have them both be on the same layer. And then for her needle, we're just going to draw right through the illustration so we can get this nice straight line. Circle, hold the screen, snaps that circle. Snap another circle. Even that out a little bit. All right. And then cut. Okay. Now, there's not a lot of extra detail going on with her, but I want to add maybe a little like that to that part of her. Then lastly, she's got this white strand of silk, I guess, or thread that's coming off of this needle. And I'm trying to think what would be a good, maybe something, maybe a little more crazy like that. And that's on its own layer. I'm going to move this up to the top. I kind of like it how it looks like it's going in front of her. So I'm going to leave that. And then are these, oh, those are her feet. This is her head. Here's her body. And so each of these layers is going to need a layer below it. We can turn off the reference sketch. And we're going to turn this back on. We'll start with her dress. I like this brighter color. So we're going to sample that and just start filling it in. I like to draw a line right around the border, especially if it's going to be a larger color fill. So that way I can just drag the color in and do all that coloring in one easy swoop. In almost every case, it's like her head or helmet or whatever it is, I'm guessing it's just her head, is white, but it's covered for the most part in shadow at some point somewhere on her face. But I think I want to go with a color that's kind of like maybe halfway in between there, just so that I can A, see it, and B, have something to add some highlights and shadows to. And I'm sure that on the stream you probably can't even see this color. It's so pale. I don't know if that looked like it did anything. And then the needle is a little bit darker. We'll just take somewhere in the middle of that highlight area and use that. Drop that color in. Fill in all of this. And then the next step would be starting to add some of these Paper Mario style shadows. So like the shadow that's underneath his mustache and the shadow that's on his nose and at the bottom of his jaw and in his hat. I want to start adding some shadows that kind of feel like that. And there's this path offset. So like the outside of that shadow is lighter. And I'm sure that there's a way to do that, but I'm just going to draw it because it seems like it would be easier. So I'm going to take this color again. Oh, actually, you know what? I'll take this color from up here. And just draw that in. With that little bit of offset. Or I guess possibly inset, depending on how you're looking at it. Something like that. Oops. Should finish filling that space in. And then in my eraser, I'm going to grab my airbrush tool and just fade that out. Like so. Then we'll do the same with her dress. I'm going to make this one a clipping mask, just in case. I don't think I'm going to need it. But I'll match it to this style, which I'll need a little shadow right here. Fade that off. And then in almost every case, it's like the center of her cloak, dress, outfit thing is where all the shadow is. So we will mimic that and make the majority of the shadows in the center here. Yo, what's up, Mr. MB? My shit's all broken today. Like I start the live stream and immediately the light turns off. Can I ask Mr. MB, how is everything sounding? Does it sound all right? If you're still hanging out. All right, now for all of this, I'm going to select the whole kit and caboodle and just start kind of fading stuff out a little bit. Like so. And then I'm going to use this darker color from the needle. And on the needle layer, fill this in. Actually, I do want to start right there. Fill this whole area in, and then start fading it out. That. Like that. Same with back here. Do a little line there and a little circular line there, and then another one there. Fade these things out. Okay, I want to drop that in there because I want to see what this guy looks like. White, cute, now glowy, clipping mask. I'll go with the yellow. Fill. And then take this and do a blur on it. It's kind of cute, not gonna lie. I am going to take one quick second and switch back to my starting soon screen, and then I will be right back. I want to see if I can fix the lights in my background. Okay, I figured it out. I have a timer set for the lights in my office to go off at the exact same time that I started the live stream. And that's why they weren't working. But I figured it out, and you know what? it's better than just leaving it. Okay, so the next thing is I have to make each of these parts look like pieces of paper that are kind of stacked on top of each other. And what I'm going to do for that is I'm just going to group each of them. Group each of these things. Yeah. I like to not fully destroy the work that I've done. So I like to duplicate, turn things off, stuff like that before I flatten anything. And I'll just move these down here. So all of the artwork's still there. It's just in groups that are turned off so you don't have to see them. And then here are the layers that I will be turning into little pieces of paper. So what I'm going to be doing for that is making a duplicate of each of them and turning the brightness all the way up so that I can grab the whole piece and just offset it just a little bit so that it looks like it's got a little bit of thickness. Offset it like that. And same with this one. Now, I'll merge these together. So that I can add some shadow in between each of them. And actually on the feet, well, I guess I can add some shadow to the white area. Let's see how that looks. Well, that's kind of cool. Add some shadow there, a little bit there. And then we're not going to need any shadow on her dress because that's what's in front. Oh, I guess I can add a shadow from the string. So I'm going to duplicate this string, turn it back down to black, and offset it like that. Delete that layer, clipping mask, and then switch this to a Gaussian blur. I might even take that down a little bit. All right, that's my paper Hornet. I'm gonna merge that down. I'm gonna go ahead and group all of this stuff. Close that group and turn it off. And then we're gonna move to the next art style, which is Cuphead. And I was looking around through a bunch of references of Cuphead to see if I could find kind of a wider variety of characters to look through. And there's surprisingly like not a lot of very good footage out there. or not footage, but just like images on Google image search of these characters. But this has a female character, so it's got her little shoes. It also, I feel like, is a good representation of the kind of character art style from this game. So I thought that it would work well. I think, all of these characters have gloves. She's going to get some gloves. Hornet is going to have some gloves. They all have smiles, but she doesn't really seem to have a mouth. So she's not going to smile. She's not going to get a smile. But she is going to get these nice little shoes that this girl character is wearing. I might even give her the little lacy stuff that's happening underneath her dress because I think that would be funny. And the line variation is pretty light. You can see some variation like towards the tips of the lines of like around like the cheeks and the smile and stuff. You see like a bit of a taper, but for the most part they're pretty straightforward. Let me see. There's a hello. Are you looking forward to play Hollow Knight? Silksong, Alicia. And yes, this is Procreate. I love Procreate. It is my go-to illustration app. It's honestly my go-to, like, pretty much everything app. I've kind of, for the most part, given up on Photoshop because Procreate just does such a better job. I wonder what Hornet will look like in the Cuphead universe. And I love the Cuphead franchise. It's one of my favorite indie games of all time. Cuphead seems to be a very difficult game. And I have never actually tried it. I've watched other people play it and am just like, wow, I don't know if I necessarily need to torture myself that way. But I did play the first Hollow Knight game and thought it was absolutely beautiful. And so, and also with Silksong only being $20, which is just so insane that this team that has been working on this game for so long has decided that the game that everybody's been clamoring for is not going to be a $70 game. It's not going to be a $60 or $50 game. Nope. Just $20. Just a $20 game. So great. Okay, let's see here. We're going to put her dress cloak up again. Let's give her more of a fun type pose. A little more like bendy looking. And we're gonna act like she's got some feet here. It's probably gonna end up looking a little funny at first. We're just doing some exploration. Yeah, I mean, they kind of made the game for you to be dying all the time, right? It's kind of the purpose, is do as much as you can, run and gunner. I bet I wouldn't be completely terrible at it if I actually spent some time with it, but I don't know how many people watch, or if anybody watching this has watched Game Grumps, but I watched Aaron play through it, and it looked just so difficult. Here, I'm gonna make this go over her shoulder. I think that would be more fun if it was resting on her non-existent shoulder. So I'm going to get rid of all this. Let's turn that off. So with this is just kind of like a really rough playing around. I want to do another one that's a little bit more refined, but still just sketching. Oops. And we're going to give Hornet these little cuts out of her eyes, like the characters from Cuphead have, like the characters from all the 1950s cartoons had. And that, like, immediately puts her in that universe, which is really funny. Alright, I always get all messed up when I'm trying to draw hands that are holding on to something. They only have 3 fingers, so it's a little bit easier, but even after a lifetime of drawing, hands are the most tricky part of the body. Something like that. And then I'll get to the string later once I start inking, which I am about to do because I like where this is going. Inking. Yeah, the style of Cuphead is so cool. Like, it is 100% Fleischer Studio cartoon inspired. I don't know if you've had a chance to look at any of the other videos on my channel, Alicia, but I have a video about video games inspired by famous artists. And in that video, I have a section devoted to Cuphead because of just how well they were able to capture Fleischer Studios illustration style and animation style. It's so funny, especially seeing like some reference image or reference videos of that style of animation next to the Cuphead footage. They did such a good job with that game. And yeah, for just like an indie studio, it's pretty incredible. Now with this illustration, since I don't have to be separating layers like I did with the Paper Mario, I am going to be doing all of the outlines just on the same layer. I think I'm going to do her arms and her hands first. And then I'll get back to the rest of her dress or whatever it is. Dress cloak. Trying to balance that line out a little bit more. And then on another layer, I'm going to finish off her material. I don't know what to call this thing. Is there a word for it? I swear my friend on me wore something similar to this, and I can't remember what she called it. Or it's just one piece of fabric that is very drapey. You know, I never actually watched the Cuphead show. I saw that it existed, and I love that it does exist, but I just never took the time to watch it. I'm so bad at watching stuff on TV unless it's stupid YouTube stuff. That's stuff I'm really good at watching. But like actual shows, for some reason, I don't know. I don't know what happened to me. I don't know who hurt me. Oh, I'm not going to do that. I don't think this is connected. Fill that in a little bit more. Now I can merge these two layers and add that stuff because it's funny. And if we look at his torso, what happens when a black object overlaps another black object is you just see like a white line of separation. So I am going to add that in. Oops, that looks bad. Like that. and like that. And like that. And then I think I want her shoes to just be dark. But I'll come back to that in a second. I need to trim that down a little bit more. Like so. And then I am going to make a new layer for the needle. Draw a circle, touch and hold the screen to lock it into place. That's good enough. There. Sometimes, depending on how your hand is resting on the iPad with Procreate, it will just shift everything just a little bit in a way that you were not intending. Okay, so with this, I want to delete everything underneath her digits and underneath her clothes. Yeah, this. And her head. And then back on the actual art layer, get rid of that so it looks like she's holding on to that sword. The feet look a little funny. Maybe it'll be fine. Maybe it will be just fine. Let's go with a light gray. Tracing along the outlines. Oh, actually, I'm going to turn off my sketches. And one of the nice things about Cuphead is there's no shadows. So we don't have to go back in and do any more. I'm actually going to brighten this up just a little bit. To like that, maybe. I'll use the same color for her hands. This music is so dramatic. And for down here. Then we use a darker gray for the needle. Okay. Something like that. Yeah, it did. All right. And then a darker gray for her shoes. Help them blend into her feet a little bit more. And then we'll use a nice bright red for her body. And then I've got another thought for this illustration. Once I get done with this color, fill that in. All right. So one of the things that I'm not 100% sure on. I think I want to make the gloves in the head white, actually. They look too dark. It doesn't really read as well. Should have just left them alone. Then I can change the background color or add a background color layer. Maybe I'll do this same kind of bright green for now. And then I'll grab, oh wait, I need her thread. Add that thread. That's kind of cool. I'm going to want some of it to go behind her and some of it to go in front of her. I think this part should be behind, like it's coming out from behind her and wrapping around in front and then back behind. Let's try that. Like that. That's pretty cool. I dig it. Now I want to group these layers, duplicate them, flatten it, turn off the original layers. Oh wait. Undo, delete, turn this back on. Forgot a shadow. Add a little shadow underneath. All right, duplicate, flatten. Now, one of the cool things that Procreate can do is this chromatic aberration, which if you start to push and pull, I don't know how well it's coming through, but it starts pushing the colors apart, which is a technique that the developers of Cuphead do, at least in their advertisements or their key art. As they do this little bit of chromatic aberration so that it resembles, old cartoons. Another thing that they do is, let's get rid of that. Actually, let's go back before the chromatic aberration. We'll do a clipping mask. And if you look at this black here, it's almost kind of like a grayish, bluish, purplish, something in there. Something like that. And so we'll do this as a lighter color or lighten. We'll do it as a lighten. That's kind of neat. All right, merge down. Now we'll do this chromatic aberration. The displace one is the one that offsets the colors, and you can kind of shift it around however you want it to, but I just want it to be really tightly offset, so that you can see that like bit of color separation, like when a print press isn't aligned perfectly. And so, I don't know. I think it looks pretty good. I think it's pretty cute. It looks like her, and it looks like Cuphead style. She looks like she families with them pretty well. So we're going to group these things together, turn that off, and start on the last one, which is going to be this Hades style. Hello, EJC Smillion. How's it going? So this is the third and final style that I'm going to be trying to reimagine Hornet in. And this one, I feel like she deserves like a more of a form. Especially with this style, because this style is very like body yaddy centric. And she's flashing them legs, so let's just roll with it. I don't even know if I need these references anymore. I've already drawn her like 3 times. So we'll go with a black pencil. And let's see. How would I want to pose her? Let's take a second to look and see. Alicia has written a fair amount of stuff in here. Oh, thank you, Alicia. Yeah, I think Hornet turned out pretty good as a Cuphead style. Can Hornet beat the devil? Hornet could probably beat the devil. Yeah, you should. Grab your Procreate and draw along. That's what this is all about, is like having a little bit of a creative moment at the very end of your week, because why not? We spend all week working. We need a break. to just enjoy some art time. So Hornet's head is always kind of off to one side or the other, and it's always kind of at this angle, and her body is always kind of like behind her. But how can we make her more Hades looking? So I have been going to a sketch night here in Michigan where we have models coming in twice a month. And so I have been practicing my figure drawing skills. Let's see if any of them end up coming in handy for this illustration. I want her to have like little toes down there. Maybe this leg could be coming forward a little bit. I think what I want to do is have one hand holding the needle and the other hand holding the thread. I think that would be cool. Oops, I went into math mode. And we'll give this needle a little bit more length. And maybe even make it more slender than it normally is. It's not really looking that much more slender at this point. Give her this poppin' collar. Something like that. As a starting point. And since I ended up scaling her down so much, I have to scale down the size of my pencil tip here. Oh, EJC, you're in Michigan too? What part of the state are you in? Are you east side or west side? I am pretty close to Detroit, but not quite in Detroit. And also, thank you for the compliment. I appreciate it. Near the Capitol-ish. Nice. I grew up here in Michigan, but spent the majority of my adulthood out west in Portland, Oregon. And just recently moved back home a few years ago for family purposes. And I think I made it out to Lansing like once in my youth, but I have not left this area, at least within the boundaries of Michigan, much since I got back here. Let's check out her outfit. All right, she's actually also got something going up her neck. But I definitely want this piece to be up. I just feel like I don't know how it should connect. Maybe she can get like a button right there to like hold it together, maybe 2 buttons. Because I do want this to open up. And actually become a cape. Maybe I'll give her some high boots. Well, I guess they're knee highs for a reason, right? So they should probably not go past her knees. And all of this detail, because her body is represented as just this, these very black, solid black like lines, all of this is going to be filled in very dark. And it's essentially just going to have highlights showing off all of the details of her form. This finger could be up front a little bit more. Okay. Now it's time to start making this look more like the Hades art style, which is very comic book looking. And I do enjoy drawing in like a comic book style of illustration. So this should be pretty fun. Very angular lines, sharp corners. So it's like things aren't necessarily always 100% roundy. Nice variety of line variation. And then there are also these kind of areas of, like in the chrome, there's these kind of like dark solid areas for shadow. I kind of went over something that I liked. Yeah, I liked that. Yeah. The soundtrack is so moody. This illustration. Getting very into this illustration, and it's taking me a little bit longer than I would have imagined. But I also, I want to try to get this cool Hades-esque style in there, and that stuff doesn't just come out of nowhere. Which, for anyone in the art world, I'm sure you are very familiar with the concept of thinking or of dealing with people that think that art just kind of happens, and that it doesn't take any time, and that it doesn't take any effort, You're just the person that knows how to do it, so do your thing. Hit the art button. I mean, I guess at this point you kind of can just hit the art button, since there's so many AI services that are trying to replace us. And with how big I made that foot, I can see why they're trying to replace us. All right, let's get in there. Make a new layer for these interior cape details. And then I can reduce the opacity to figure out where I want to delete them. Get rid of all the overlap. Those lines can come back up. I need to add her massive needle. It's just my guide layer. So I'll start from the tip over here. Both of those sides taper in. And then maybe I'll have this come down to a point as well. Something like that. It's pretty good. Get rid of that. Clean this up. Then get rid of everything else that's behind it. Where is it at? This. And then this there. Okay. Merge down. Close that. It's pretty dope. It looks like her, but also not. Yeah. I like to go to Comic-Con conventions. I like to go to I'm gonna go with like a warmer tone here. I like to go to Comic-Cons. I like going to retro gaming expos and just walking around the art booths set up there. I have a whole stack of posters that I bought from real artists from different conventions that is just like sitting on the floor right now because I haven't really had the time or energy to figure out where and how I'm going to be hanging them up. But I think I want to like fill this entire room full of just art and then noise padding. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I guess call it bias, but like I don't have a problem with digital artists. And I have bought a lot of digital artwork, stuff that I know people made in Photoshop or Procreate because it looks cool and they still had to use their own talent, their own skill to make it happen. It's the only unfortunate part about digital art, which, I suffer from because of the fact that I like working digitally, is, I forgot that line there, is, you get a piece of digital art and it's one of however many that artist wanted to print, or, basically anybody could print it if they post it up somewhere online. Whereas like a painting, I've got my whole first floor of my apartment is all actual paintings from actual artists that I know. And that's just something that you can't get with digital art, is like each one of those is a one-off. Like there's no other version of that. There can be something close, or there can be a photograph of one of those paintings that was then printed into a poster or something like that. But as far as the exact piece of artwork that I have downstairs, like nobody else gets to have that. And that's what I like about traditional style art, is each piece is its own rare, unique item. And I would like to make more traditional style art, painting, sculpture, all of that stuff. But it's just so messy, you know? You gotta like clean up after doing all that stuff. And it's such a pain in the butt. Digital art, you don't have to do that. Like on this iPad, I've got Nomad Sculpt, which I've been able to, you know, do digital sculpting with, and it's pretty awesome. Kind of fills in that empty spot from not working on sculptures with my hands. But it's also not the same. And apparently, very close by to where I'm living, there is an art gallery that has a kiln, or maybe 2 kilns. And for $50, a total of $50, you can buy a 5-pound chunk of clay and you get 2 firings. So you have your clay, and I think there's a woman that runs that studio that sits in, and she doesn't necessarily like teach you how to build with clay, but she'll walk around and like help people if they need a hand with something, or if they have questions. But $50 to like have all that clay, make as much stuff as you want, fire it, and then I guess the using the glazes that are there is part of that $50. And so you can glaze all of the stuff, paint on all your glazes, and then you get one more firing to, you know, seal it all off. It seems like a pretty good deal. Throw that in there. Let me brighten this up. Brighten up her body a little bit. And then I am going to just kind of quickly add some shading to the inside of the cape, and then I think I'm going to call it, because this has been a very long live stream already. And this illustration could take a lot more time to finish up, but what I can do and shall do. Oh wait, I want to add this string before I call it. I want to add the thread. I kind of want it going in between her fingers. There, like that. Like she's controlling it. So how do we want to do this? This is in front, right? Or is this in back? That's in back. That's in back. And then it comes to the front. That makes more sense. Which means I'm going to have to do this carefully. Okay. Back. Like so. I guess it can be in front of the needle. It's kind of cool. And then I think I want to bring this down a little bit. It's pretty sweet. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks, Alicia and EJC Smillion for hanging out tonight. And thanks for everybody else that either tuned in or will tune in the future and check this out. I really appreciate it. I'm gonna try to switch this up. Can I not? Oh wait, crap. All right, never mind. There's been some technical difficulties tonight, but you know what? I am still trying to figure all of this stuff out. The live streaming stuff is a lot more tricky than you would think, and there's so many little intricacies. But I'm getting there. It's making a little bit more sense each and every time. But yes, thank you so much for watching. Thanks for joining. And yeah, for anybody that hasn't seen any of my content, please go check out some of my other videos or all of them if you'd like to. If you have not subscribed to my channel and are interested in design focused gaming content, feel free to subscribe, like, share, comment, all of the things. Anything that you could do helps the channel. I really appreciate it. And yeah, thank you so much. And I will see you next time. If I can figure out how to end the thing.